Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to cry. You can't fool me again.
What we gonna eat no money, what we at you, eat no at you. Covid money, me say we eat the yellow rat you. Use the youth, them money, waste no must a man to statue. Say we like a catch you, but bigger than a figure you. Take the spit of money, God and say that is not you. On the head, the man above him, look him, I got a bed. Too much eating at the kitchen, some of fly well like a pat too. When singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me.
300% free.
It burn me.
Garbage pile of the day.
It burn me.
Give the teacher them raise.
It burn me.
I see corruption please.
It burn me.
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me.
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me.
Appear money them a thief.
It burn me.
And them a sell out with beach.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
Come me say dig up all the charities and all of the givers. Some a go like say them powerful, me no make a bigger. The 100 the promises, none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth, they rap and they down in a whatever. Member bowl only and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them swell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell, go mash up people start like thief when them sell.
It burn me.
Or they treat the market man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the cat man.
It burn me.
Or they treat the peanut man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the dirt man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat the soul man.
It burn me.
Or them a treat policeman.
It burn me.
How them a treat soldier man.
It burn me.
How them a treat everyone.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You
Boom! I mean, I say a couple to the flex they represent for Wayne Global TV. Né? So I say, you know the code in the Wayne Global TV is what fully blessed on 90 days. So I say, yeah man, to the fullest. Yeah man, make sure them log in to Wayne Global TV. So I say, check it out. So I say, one cup of flex. So I say, Wayne Global. When you watch you know, film a plan up and a try to put them on it and we head. But man, I live too long, them want Wayne Global fitted. To him juggle so smooth that them want him life for dread. I through the bank, I like the break, but we ain't all about the bread. We open up in the ears and no listen when we said, cause we lyrics them so smooth like the linen on the bed. Them want with it fall, we living on the edge, I must say true, we make this them. We ain't Global TV, we are 90, and 90. Who Jaja bless, say no man can curse. Give me the Range Rover, uno drive years. Boom! We in Global TV to the fullest one cup of excellence. See me?
fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What people do in no money, what people at you, in no at you. Could be money missing, we in the yellow little rat you. Use the youth, them on the base, must have anti-statue. Say me like a catch you, but bigger than a figure you. Take the spit of money, girl, and say that is not you. One day the man above end up, him a got up. Too much it in the kitchen, some a fly by like a
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
what people do in no money, what people at you, in no at you.
Please let me know if you can hear me now, please. Please give me a sound check and let me know if you can hear me now. Good evening and welcome. Can those on YouTube and Facebook hear me? Please let me know on YouTube and Facebook if you can hear me. Thank you very much. You're saying you can hear me now. Thank you. Thank you. Let me reintroduce. Good evening and welcome. This evening we ask, is Jamaica a democracy? And if you answer yes to that question, then we ask, are we at risk of losing our democracy? And if you answer yes to that, we also ask, will the court protect our democracy? And what will the people say? This evening, on the people's point of view, we will explore the risk to our democracy and more. Good evening to those on TikTok, to those on Twitch, on the X, on Facebook, on YouTube. Good evening and welcome, and thank you for joining us. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We managed to sort the audio out. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And once again, welcome. We will ask the question as to our democracy a bit later, but there are a few things that I want to move through before I get to the issue of democracy, rules, constitution, who break them, who respect them, who doesn't respect them. I want to say good evening to the lip-shot Prime Minister, who has stolen so much from our public purse to the point where he cannot verify his assets. I want to say good evening to the leader of the opposition, who doesn't know the difference between free speech and alleged murder. Good evening to the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition. Which God are you talking about? Which God are you all urging unity, commitment to God? Which God are we talking about? Andrew Holness and Mark Golden. And to you, Mark Golden, while you was on that podium talking about unity to commit to God, Did the Silvera children at any point, Mr. Golden, come up in your mind when you all spoke about that unity to God? Could you all answer which God are you talking about? But Fitzbailey, one is not enough. The recapture of one of the escapee from the Arakabessa police, the recapture of one Fitzbailey, it's not a good enough job. The recapture of Fitzbailey of one of 7 escapee is not good enough. Just like your job on anything else you're doing is not good enough. Just like the job you're doing on any of your other crime fighting tactics is not good enough. So we're not going to come out here, Fitzbailey, and sing you praises that you have captured one of the 7 of the Arakabessa police station escapee. Antonesta Morgan, why on earth, after renovating 100 another police station across the island, why these prisoners find it possible to always be escaping? We did have a big escape down Black River there a few months ago, didn't we? But keep your eyes on the lies, because them are going to come tell we holy more. I want to twaddle on to political hereditary, because this is one of the things we need to get rid of out of our politics. Because after Pernell Charles Sr. Tande Ano do nothing and go thief off people land, Pernell Charles Jr. is handed hereditary position in politics. Pernell Charles Jr. is saying, as you all know, he's Minister of Labor and National Security. Pernell Charles Jr. is saying that farm workers, people on the farm work program, absconding, or we call it runoff. Absconding is a problem. Is that your only problem? Little boy, what your name? Is that your only problem, Pernell Charles Jr.? Farm workers running off the farm work program. What about Pernell Charles Jr., the working conditions of those under the Canadian Agricultural Work Program? What about the living condition and the health condition, the social facilities, the social amenities on those farms that a lot of our young men and middle-aged men from Jamaica go on that work program to do? What about the treatment they receive? What about the treatment they receive from the liaison officers? What about the treatment, Colonel Charles Jr., that they receive on these farms? What about the living condition, Colonel Charles Jr., on these farms where you're in Canada? You have outside latrine. You have to come out of some of the farms, as we were told last year, some of the farms, people want to go to toilet in the night, have to come out of their living quarters and go to an outside toilet. What about those conditions, Colonel Charles Jr.? Do you see these as problems and the agricultural work program in Canada? What about the health implication to the workers on that program? What about those who come back home with cancers and all sorts of respiratory diseases? What are your concerns? What are your concerns on these issues, Colonel Charles Jr.? Is it only them running off is a concern to you? Is there anything other than them running off that farm work program? Is there any other concern to you? Their treatment, their health, the facility in which they live, the communication between them and the Ministry of Works and Ministry of Labor, the treatment of the liaison officers. Is that the only problem you can have, Colonel Charles Jr.? People running off or absconding off the agricultural work program in Canada? Isn't there more that you can or should be taking into consideration, like the treatment, the living condition, the social amenities on the farms, the health condition, the ripple effect of all the poisonous chemical that they're interacting with, the respiratory problems some of them come back home with, the issue of cancer that a lot of them are dealing with? Are there any problem, Colonel Charles Jr., that you're having with the men on those programs other than them running off? Because it's always about UNO. Or is it Colonel Charles Jr. that them running off the program is affecting the commission that the ministry receives? Is it a matter of them running off? The ministry doesn't receive the commission they would have. Explain that if there is any context to that. Because I always take with a fool. And we know so when it comes to money, the only time when I jump out and have problem is when it have to do with money. So please tell us, Colonel Charles Jr., if when the men on the agricultural work program in Canada run off, which you're having problem with, does it affect the commission that the ministry would receive through that program? So there are some questions for Colonel Charles Jr. to ask. And we're just going to move on to the other questions we want to ask. This is in particular to the Child Protection Agency in Jamaica, CPFSA, them long acronym there. But before I deal with that, I want to ask a question. Should bad word be a criminal offense? Is bad word free speech? Is bad word free speech? And should bad word be a criminal offense? Is bad word or expletive swear word, for those of you in foreign who don't understand when we say bad word, expletive swear word, should it really be a criminal offense? Is bad word really a problem in Jamaica? Is bad word a criminal offense or free speech? Because we see where Popcorn has been charged for the expletives, for the expletive utterances to the police after they closed his show in Yallaston late December. We've now seen where they lay tantamount of charges at him. Is Badwood a problem in Jamaica? Is Badwood free speech, or is Badwood a criminal offense? Are we losing the plot, or are we fighting the wrong thing for crime as crime? Should Badwood be a criminal offense, or is it free speech? The people's point of view is for you to answer those questions. Is Badwood free speech, or should it be a criminal offense? Because we see where them slap a lot of charges and Popcorn, indecent language, disorderly conduct, using abusive and calamitous, all sort of sin thing them just a try take out a book and a chose so. Breach of denies abatement and all that. But the charges seem to stem from the Badwood. Maybe that is the upsetting factor for the police them. But the question is, at the state, is Badwood a crime, or is it free speech? But we move back now to child protection. As we see the viral video all over social media, and it's been all in the papers, where half a dozen big, crusted, tough women attacked and brutalized a child. One of the women, if not practically a grandmother, she is in a grandmother's age group, 52 years old. The question I want to ask CPFSA, because I don't want them to make me bite off my tongue tonight. The question I want to ask them, is there in those households of these big silverback gorillas, are there children in those households under the age of 18? If there is, have you removed the children from those homes? Are you planning in your investigation into the matter to remove the children, any children under 18, from those households? Do you see those women as a danger to children? What can stop any of those mothers, if their child get them that angry, to use a metal spoon and batter the child over their head, or even for that matter, step in the abdomen of the child on the floor? Is the Child Protection Agency in Jamaica planning to remove any children under the age of 18 from those households until those silverback gorillas go to parenting class and is being supervised how to parent? Do you see those silverbacks as danger to children? And if you see them as danger to children, should the Child Protection Agency in Jamaica remove any children from the care of those women who we've seen acting like mad raging viragos in public? Should child protection remove any children under the care and supervision of all of those women who brutalize that young lady? Should their children be removed from them pending parenting classes? That's the question I want to put tonight to the Child Protection Agency. Do you see those mothers, those women, as danger to children? Do you see those women as danger to children? It is a question for the Child Protection Agency to answer. Is there any children under the age of 18 in the household of those women we see acting disgracefully and violent? Are they a danger to their own children? They have shown us that they are a danger to children, to other people's children. Are they a danger to their children? Child Protection Agency should answer that question. I want to move on to the Prime Minister and the JLP and rule base. Is Andrew Holness a prime minister that have serious problem in following rules? Does Andrew Holness have a problem in following rules? State of emergency, zones of special operation. The court rules that they are a violation to our Constitution. However, the Prime Minister still continue to use them. Paula Llewellyn, her second term, as Hugh Wildman and Valerie argued, was extended unconstitutionally. One, the People's National Party was not consulted. And two, the appointment came after Paula Llewellyn's 60th birthday, which should have been, for it to be valid, it should have come before her 60th birthday. Further to that, we see in the dead of night, before going on summer recess, the Prime Minister went to Parliament with a shoddy legislative instrument, amending our Constitution in the dead of night to extend the lifespan of the DPP beyond what the current Constitution suggests. Bear in mind, at the same time, we are going through a constitutional review. Even now, the Prime Minister's, the JLP, members of the JLP are now taking the Jamaica Labour Party to court for violation of the JLP constitution. What this is showing is that the Holness regime doesn't only violate the constitution of the state Jamaica, but is also in violation of the constitution of the Jamaica Labour Party. The Supreme Court today granted an injunction barring the JLP from hosting Margaret Bay Division selection meeting. Before I go further into that, I want to ask Andrew Holness something. Have you promised the Mona Division to anyone? The Mona Division on the local government, Andrew Holness. Have you promised the Mona Division to anyone? Council Caretaker Stevens, let me get his proper name, Stephen Williams. Stephen Williams is the council caretaker for the Marmy Bay Division in Portland. Write down Portland. Hugh Wildman argued before the court that under the JLP Constitution, Stephen Williams was properly elected and confirmed in September 2023 at a caretaker candidate meeting in Old Harbour, St. Catherine. So therefore, Stephen Williams is the caretaker who will be contesting local government election to be held in February. But before I go further, I even ask more. Is it a case, Andrew Holness, that you're planning to refuse to have the local government election in February in order for the People's National Party to drag you to the court and tagger the thing out and long out the thing to give you more time? Is that a plan of the Andrew Holness regime to deny us, the people, the right to choose our local government representative come March, which is 7 years in delay? Violation of our constitutional right. Keep up with it. Given I've said to you, the Wildman argument before the court is that Stephen Williams was selected as the caretaker candidate to represent Margaret Bay Division in the upcoming election. Now, there was to be a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, I think the 5th of January, to select a selection process meeting for the constituency. Stevens took the JLP to court, arguing that there's no such need because he has already been confirmed for the seat. Beat and teach, that is the argument Hugh Wildman and the Gleaner is saying. He's been selected as a caretaker. Are you sure somebody did not, remember some upper council did dead in? You're sure one of them council for that thing he never did? But in any case, they or they're trying to deselect him as chairman, is that? But in any case, Hugh Wildman argued before the court successfully that he has already been properly selected. Thus, Justice Bertram Linton granted an injunction for 28 days until the JLP come back to court. The respondent in the claim is the chairman of the JLP, Bobby Montague, the General Secretary, Dr. Chang, and the Chief Operational Officer, Sharon Hay Webster. However, they couldn't find them to serve the document on them. But Hugh Wildman argued in front of the court and got a successful injunction for 28 days. Therefore, the court would be accepting the argument that the Jamaica Labour Party is in violation of the JLP Constitution. What is the problem with the JLP and Stephen Williams? Bear in mind that East and West Portland is controlled by the Vaz family. Am I correct on that, Beat and Teach? East and West Portland is controlled by the same family. Who is having problem? Let me pin that on the screen so everybody can see. Who is having the problem with Stephen Williams? Is it the Prime Minister or is it the husband and the wife? Did the husband and the wife or the Prime Minister or the chair of the Jamaica Labour Party promise the Margaret Bay division to someone else? Did they promise the job as the chair to someone else? Why they want to unseat? Why they want to unseat Stephen Williams? Who is having that problem? Is it the family business in Portland? Is it the family business in Portland or the family business in St. Andrew? Who is having the problem? Who is having the problem with Mr. Williams? He is a councillor in Darrell Vaz constituency. Is the problem with Vaz or the problem is with Holness or the GenSec for the Jamaica Labour Party or the chair? Who is having the problem? Who is having the problem with Stephen Williams? The JLP is willing, just like they violated the constitution of the country, the JLP is willing to violate their constitution by which governs the Jamaica Labour Party. What is the problem with Andrew Holness and the Jamaica Labour Party and following rules? If a government have a problem in following rules, is this a government that will protect your democracy? Is this a government that will protect your democracy, or is it a tyrannical regime growing faster by the day? Is this a tyrannical regime growing faster by the day, or is this a government that will protect our democracy? Then we cannot trust government to protect our democracy, because what government always wants from us is more power. The court is the guardian of our constitution. The court stood up today and say, no, we will stop you from doing that now. But what will the Jamaica Labour Party go back to the court with in response to the injunction in the next 28 days? Or for that matter, will they go back to the court, or will they let the issue rest? Who is having the problem? Who is having the problem with Stephen Williams? Is it Dr. Harris Chang? Is it Bobby Montague? Is it Sharon Hay Webster? Is it Darrell Vaz? Who is having the problem? Who is having the problem with Stephen Williams? The Jamaica Labour Party, like violating our constitution, is even willing to violate the constitution by which they operate. By which they operate, and therefore it's fair enough to say that we cannot trust them. We cannot trust the Jamaica Labour Party to protect our rights or to guard our constitution. Will the court be the guardian, and will the court continue to be the guardian of constitution, the guardian of our rights, or freedom of speech, or freedom of expression, or democracy, or freedom of conscience, or freedom of thought? Can we depend on the court to give us continuous protection against what is a fast-growing tyrannical regime of a government? Is Andrew Holness planning to turn a blind eye to the local government election due in February of this year? Is Andrew Holness planning to turn a blind eye Thank you, Beat and Teach. I will look at that deeper tomorrow, and if I need to come back on that issue, I definitely will. But I will need time. I've seen it, but I will need time to look into it. But we must continue. We must continue to ask the questions. We must continue to ask the questions. We must continue to keep focus, because it is by us not paying attention, government can just pull the rug from under our feet without us paying clear attention. It is important to keep in focus. That's why we're always going to ask the relevant questions. Will the court continue to give us protection from a tyrannical government? Do you trust Andrew Michael Holness and the Jamaica Labour Party to review and amend our constitution for the future? Are they the right bunch for this constitutional review? Are they the right bunch to bring us into a republic? Can we trust them to alter what we have now and to create a republicanism? If we create a republicanism under Andrew Holness, what further risk could that be to our democracy? As much as I like his style and everything, look at the risk Donald Trump poses to the American democracy. We always hear Dr. Baruka refer to Andrew Michael Holness as baby Trump. Can we trust Andrew Holness to change what we have now? If we allow Andrew Holness to change what we have now, will it be in the interest of Andrew Michael Holness and the Jamaica Labour Party, or in the interest of the state Jamaica? Is Andrew Michael Holness and the Jamaica Labour Party the right team to take us into republicanism? Can we trust a Jamaica Supreme Court that doesn't have the right anymore to go to the Privy Council? Can we trust a Jamaica Supreme Court as our final legal jurisdiction of appeal? These are things that we need to keep in focus in this so-called constitutional review. What are my rights? Are they being enhanced from what they presently are? Or have we lose or is about to lose the rights that this constitution affords us? In a constitutional review, what needs to happen to your rights is that they are preserved, or they are strengthened and ring-fenced, because they're called rights. There is two rights that you must stand up and fight with everything to protect. Your natural rights, those are the birthrights that you have. And any rights given to you by a constitution. Sometimes we get rights through a parliament, but a right through a parliament is nothing certain, because under parliamentary democracy, majority carries, and you can bring an instrument to parliament to change any act of parliament as or amend them as you wish. When it's a right given to you through a constitution, it's an entrenched document, it's an entrenched right. It is very hard to play with. Take, for example, the issue of gun rights in America. Them couldn't kill the whole country. It's difficult to change gun rights. It's a right given through the Constitution. Is Andrew Michael Holness and the Jamaica Labour Party the right set of team to mess with our Constitution, given how we see they've harangued the Constitution? I'll be a police siren. Are you all hearing the siren? I'll be a police siren around my quarters. I don't know what's happening here. If you're disturbed by the police sirens, I'm very sorry. But can we trust Andrew Michael Holness, who disrupted our constitution in the dead of night before they went off for their break, all to extend the life of the DPP to protect him from any corruption charges and persecution? Is this the government to change the current constitutional framework that we have? Do you trust them? When a referendum is put to you, will you go through it with fine-tooth comb, or will you just vote on the Constitution because you're diehard JLP, you're Holness loyalists? Or will you be voting on the Constitution based on political partisan? Or will you be voting on a Constitution to protect us for another 500 years? Will you be voting for a Constitution to protect you, to protect generations 500 years to come? Or will you vote on the amended Constitution based on political party line? Remember, when you vote on a Constitution, it's not about you. Take, for example, over 200 years ago, those American quote-unquote founders, and you must understand the quote-unquote here in relation to Western democracy. When they put those documents together, this is why we see the right to bear arms, the right to free speech. There are some entrenched things in America. It's hard to play with. The right to freedom of expression, they're hard to play with because they're in a well-entrenched constitution with a legal system and a political system to hold it together. Can we trust Andrew Michael Holness and his team review of our constitution to ring fence our rights for another 500 years? Or is this constitutional review and reform is to give them more power over us, the people, the state of Jamaica? Is our democracy at risk? Will the court continue to protect our constitution and our democracy? This is a question we must be asking our MPs and our councillor. How safe is our democracy in your hands? How safe is the question we should all be asking our MPs and councillor. How safe is our democracy in your hands? Does the people understand the risk to their democracy? Does the people understand the risk or the danger to a government that continuously violate constitutional principles? Is the people comfortable with a government who continuously violate constitutional principle? the same government that is hastily rewriting our constitution to move into a republic. Do you trust this government with reforming your constitution? Do you trust this government with the reform of your constitution? Remember, it's the same old wicked them. It's the same old wicked them two there. Andrew Holness and Mark Golden. It's the same old wicked. We turn up a prayer breakfast side of the wicked cult leading, offering, collecting pastors. And I talk about unity, commitment to God. I don't understand what that means. Sometimes me dunce, like literally good dunce. What does unity commitment? Political leaders urge unity commitment to God. What does that mean? Which God are you talking about? When Holness make those utterances, is it the same God that was looking down into Patrick Bailey house the night when Patrick Bailey just gone wild, just a tab the man so, and when Patrick Bailey done, Patrick Bailey still pull out his gun and still shot the man. Did that God exist, or was that God looking down, or that God Andrew Holness? Have that God ever urged you at any time to say there need to be justice for that young man who Patrick Bailey murdered in his house? Stab him up, then shoot him. Which God are you talking about, Andrew Holness? Which God is Andrew Holness talking about? And to you, Mark Golden, when you were urging a unity commitment to God, does that include the Silvera's children? Is that the God that saw what happened in the Silvera's residence? Would you like that God to make sure Melissa Silvera and the Silvera children gets justice? You all like to play with God. But in closing, I will remember to ask, who is having the problem with Stephen Williams? Is it the husband and wife who control Portland, the Vases? Is it Andrew Holness? Is it Dr. Chang? Or is it Bobby Montague? Who is having problem with Stephen Williams? Who have you promised that position to? Who is that position promised to? And who is having the problem? Who is having the problem with Williams? I want to thank you all tonight for being here. Thank you very much. Thanks to my moderators. Thanks to everyone on the live tonight. Big up Jamaican Carlos. I see you. I know you're here. I want to say to you all tonight, keep these issues in focus. Keep the issue of election in focus. Keep the issue of our constitution in focus. Keep your eye on this government. The more we turn a blind eye, is the more they get away with murder. Do not let the silence win. Do not let the silence win. Don't let them use the fear of God to control us. You can only be controlled. Listen, open your ears and listen and write this down. You can only be controlled when you are in a state of fear. Listen well. You can only be controlled when you are in a state of fear. You can only be controlled when you are in a state of fear. Repeat it until your brain remodel it. You can only be controlled when you are in a state of fear. This is how governments and religious leaders control you. They keep you in a continuous state of fear. It is time. It is high time we remove from the state of fear that we have taught to reside in and claim back our power. The day we move out of fear, governments across the world will be wobbling to the floor in fear because they realize that we have realized our true potential and the power that lie within us. So when you hear Wayne Forbes said, "Me a God in my own rights," do not take offense to it. I'm not asking anyone to pray to me. I'm not telling you that I am your God. I am telling you that I am God in my own rights. And the day you start standing up and claiming and declaring the God within you, you will move out of the state of fear, move into your power, and politicians will start running and scattering in fear. Good night, and this is where we bring it to a close tonight. Thanks to those on the X, on Twitch, on Facebook, on and YouTube. You know we always end the live over on these 4 platforms before we end on TikTok. But thank you very much for being here another night. We really, really, really appreciate your support. We thank you for your support night after night. This is where we end it. Protect your rights and protect the rights of the future generation. Good night.